Hello, everyone. This is Tammy Fisher with In the Doll World, and I want to thank you for joining us for our first annual World of Black Doll celebration. Today, I am excited to introduce you to our sister, Ama Gueye. Ama and her work are critical to what we're doing. This project just wouldn't be the same without her. Ama was born in Ghana and as a child moved to Britain and has married a man from Senegal. The reason that all of this is important is Ama goes to each of those countries and gives black dolls to children. So Ama is spreading black dolls throughout Britain and Africa, and we want to congratulate her and say thank you for all of her work. I hope that you all appreciate and enjoy this interview with Ama, and again, thank you for walking this walk with us for our celebration. Take care and goodbye from me, Georgette, and In the Doll World.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to In the Doll World, a show spotlighting the passion and the people of the doll community. With your host, me, Georgette Taylor, former Vice President and co-founder of Big Beautiful Dolls, and Tammy Fisher, owner of Curiositeej Dolls and Collectibles. Join us as we talk to and feature fascinating new dolls and doll artists, from avid collectors to repainters, redesigners, bloggers, authors, filmmakers, and all the people in between as they share their journeys, give us glimpses into their processes and what propels their passion and drive that help to keep the doll world moving and shaking. Here are your hosts, Georgette and Tammy.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on In the Doll World. My name is Tammy Fisher, and I'm here today with my co-host, Georgette Taylor. Our guest today is Ama Gueye. She is a black doll advocate, and she is the owner of Operation Sankofa. It is an organization that celebrates and promotes black dolls. So without further ado, I'm going to start our show and get this party rolling. Ama, thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited to talk to you.
You're most welcome.
Thank you. So let's talk about your journey because, with your organization, you're taking dolls to Senegal and to Ghana and Britain. But how did this all begin? How did you become this doll lover and advocate?
Well, really and truly, it started off by default because I was taking part in this self-development course. Now, if you know Ama Gueye, I am not one of those people who goes in for self-development gurus and how to improve yourself and all the rest of it, although I do need improvement. And I was attending a landmark course, and part of the task that we had to do to qualify or graduate was to create an event which spoke to our passion, more like, putting your money where your mouth is. And this event had to attract at least 50 people. You could go up to 1 million if you wanted. And that would show the fact that, you could actually express this passion with others, broadcast it to the world. So for me, black dolls, I never had black dolls when I was young. But one of the things I had noticed, and my background is in teaching, was the fact that those going back to Africa with dolls under their arms for the children back home were always taking white dolls. And I got so mad when I saw a man a few years previous that I thought, I've got to do something about this. But, so I used to moan and groan and do my bit in school and in class and in, sort of discussions when we're looking at multicultural education or anti-racist programs or, those kind of diversity issues. And I thought, well, there you go. Now you've got your chance to put your money where your mouth is. So that's what I did. And we had 6 weeks in which to organize. Now, I didn't have any money to do it, but I thought, well, this is a challenge that really, if I can achieve this, it will show that I can say to my children, I can, look them in the eye and say, well, when it came down to it, I could do something that, I feel proud of and you will be proud of. And it's a legacy for us all. So that's what I did. And I organized an event. And at that time, I thought, oh, black dolls. I mean, I know that in the 50s, there weren't many black dolls. In the 60s, I didn't see many. But now we're in 2009. I'm bound to find black dolls. And I started my search to look for a black doll and black dolls so that I would have something for the event. I went from borough to borough in London. I couldn't find a doll. I would look on sites and they'll say, oh, we've got this doll. Then as soon as I was going to click on it, they said either sold out or else it wasn't available. That was
So
it.
that was, you were doing online
I was
searching?
Hooked. I was hooked. I was online searching, but
Okay.
everything was in either in the States or else, when I was asking people, they said, oh, if I started, one of those things where you're in the street and every time you see someone with a black doll, you go up to them and say, excuse me, where did you get
Where'd
your
you
doll?
get that?
And they said, oh, well, my cousin is in the States and she sent it to me, or, a friend, sent it to me, or, and I said, so where can I find a black doll in England? And there didn't seem to be very many outlets. So that was what the basis was for the event. And it was after the very first event that I decided on the name Operation Sankofa. And I say Sankofa, I mean, I know the word Sankofa is very well known in the States for many projects. But, the word itself is an Akan word, is an Adinkra symbol. And the word means to go back and fetch what you have left behind. And in fact, there is no shame in going back to retrieve what you left behind in order to learn and maybe correct things that were not right in the first place. So Sankofa, and in my tree, we say, Sawu Sangwechi Kofa Wunchi. And that was the name that I chose. And the operation side, believe it or not, it was to do with the kind of activism that I've been involved in over the past few years, because I'm a founder member of a Black women's organization, which is called ELBO, East London Black Women's Organization, which is based in East London. And my life in Britain, I came to Britain when I was a teenager, and my life in Britain over the 60s, 70s, 80s was very much in terms of trying to help change things, hence the advocacy role that I find myself in. Operation, sort of everywhere we went, whenever there was any issues with our communities, in London especially, which is where I live, it would be, operation this and operation that. And then the police would have an operation, close down, operation, get up, operation, I'm just using these names and I thought, well, I need to change something. And I know Sankofa is a very strong name, but I'm going to make mine Operation Sankofa because I want to change the situation for children of African descent, hence the name. And then, the whole idea of, sort of bringing tools into the classroom for our children to learn and benefit from, self-esteem and confidence in that was very much, in my mind. And sort of in my training as a teacher, the psychology of child development and the fact that, sort of, if the child isn't comfortable with who she is, then the learning process is compromised, so that their cognitive development is not as straightforward as it could be. And I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here in the case of, in the States. I know we're all talking about 400 years and 500 years of inequalities and how to get that right. But to get back to the dolls, because that's that passion of finding a doll that looks just like me, it became, when I started looking for the children, but then it started getting to be more about me, trying to find a doll um, for myself, my children, because when my children were growing up, I went out of my way to find dolls for them. But I mean, in the end, I really found rag dolls that were made by friends for my children, both boys and girls. So, I said, well, now what's the word? My task is cut out for me. I now need to go out and find black dolls that are accessible, so that I can pass on that information to the community that, I'm living in, and also those around me.
So, Ama, what you haven't explained yet, or at least I haven't heard it, was you talked about setting up this event, but you didn't say what the event was. And you've talked about acquiring dolls, but you haven't said what the event was.
Event what? Right. Well, the event, yeah, the event itself was really, I hired a space. Part of the task that we had to do was that we had to get a group of helpers, a team together, and that team effectively would be to train them as well, so that once the event was over, there will be a natural leadership that comes out of it, so that they would then carry this task on. They would take the idea and run with it. So we had, at the time, I had to hire a hall, get tables, create a leaflet, try and create a website, and this was all done within 6 weeks. Try and create a website, try to advertise, obviously, try and get any doll makers or doll sellers to actually come and be a part of the event. And also, I wanted maybe 2 or more speakers, but in the end we had 2 who would be talking on the topic of why we need black dolls, and also the the practical application of using the dolls themselves, be it at home, at school, in the nursery, or elsewhere. And on that first event, we had only two women who were actually selling dolls, which were dolls that they themselves were, they sourced, they bought themselves, and then they were coming to sell. And so to make it more of was over a span of 3.5 hours. So to make it more, sort of wholesome, and extend it to others, I thought that maybe we could, use things like books that reflected Black children,
right,
or other toys, and anything that was relevant to helping our children with their play, and highlighted their cultural heritage. So so we had 2 tables.
Okay. So would it be safe to say that one of the main purposes of this event was to connect Black children with Black dolls?
Yes.
Okay.
And Black children with Black dolls, but something, before that happens, as a teacher and also as a sort of community activist and whatever name, it was very important to get the adults on side.
Yes, that's important. That's important.
We had to definitely, the parents, the guardians, the carers, the teachers, the social workers, the psychologists, you name them, all the adults really needed to be part of this. And the children, because the children will come, because it's, we're talking about dolls. At the time, I think there was the Barbie film, the Princess and the Frog?
Oh, the Tiana,
Tiana, that's right.
The Tiana show.
So I actually called the UK office and said, look, we're putting this on, and it would behoove you to support us in any way you can. It was like pulling hen's teeth. But anyway, in the end, we actually managed, they actually mailed us 3 dolls and a few leaflets and other paraphernalia that we could actually give out to the children
So
and
this
use
Disney? Disney did
yes.
this? Okay.
Mattel did this.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. And they, we used one of the dolls actually as a raffle piece, which was really fantastic. So we had the 2 tables of 2 of these women who were actually selling dolls. We had someone who was selling cards, greeting cards, and art, paintings or prints that showed, children, adults, and various scenes that showed the Black family. And someone else who had made puppets.
Oh, okay.
Puppets. So that was it. And then we had one lady, and she was one of the main speakers. She was an actual master doll maker, and she was very. She won various awards around in Europe as well as in Britain for her doll making. She makes molds, cast molds. She was her name is Pauline Straker, and she gave a talk about how to actually make a mold. And until you hear that, you don't realize just what goes into it. You think, oh, well, yes, the doll's face, and, they just take a bit of plastic or a bit of clay and they just,
Right.
No. I actually went to her house and she showed me her workshop and, her kiln and everything else and how she makes it and how long it takes to make this.
Yes.
So that was a real eye-opener for me and a real, lesson that I've carried ever since, which makes me appreciate every time I come across a new doll.
Right.
Because I have that kind of background. So she gave a talk about that, and that was very well received.
How many? I know you said that when you were trying to put together the event, the goal was to have 50 or more people attend the event. That was part of the goal of doing it. So how many people did you have attend the event? Like outside people, not people who were speaking, but people who showed up to listen and to,
I think we had about 120.
Wow.
Oh, that's a good number.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty good. Wow.
Yeah. So
in 6 weeks?
I was in 6 weeks. My goodness. I've to follow the the plan that was or the steps that were laid out by the landmark program.
Right.
Oh,
yes, I've heard of landmark. I think I've been there once.
Okay.
Been there a few times.
And it was like, this team that I got together. I was trying to get a team of young people, and in the end, I did. I mean, I think the oldest must have been like coming up to 28.
Oh wow! Okay.
So the rest of them were all sort of just 22, 23, and that group of about 8 were phenomenal because they, I push and pulled us into shape, and it was just a wonderful thing to see how when the actual event happened, how everything fell into place, and how everybody did their bit. Everybody was at their station on the day. Everybody had a smile on their face. Everybody, and it was part of the landmark training in that in order to get people on board with what you're doing, and sort of, if you can actually tap into them and also energize them and enthuse them, they can see the vision, or they can actually be on the mission with you.
Right.
And sad to say that after the first 2 years, many of them, they went to different countries, and one had a baby, and life happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But the core group, I think 2 or 3 have stayed with me, and that has been a real blessing. Yeah, it's been a real blessing.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
wonderful.
And yeah, and on that, and that happened in the October of 2009.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I finished, I said, oh, okay, well, now, this is done. And so um, people, so the team, if you want, you can take it on and, go with it. And everybody said, no, 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 no. We need you to be, no, we haven't quite got it yet. We need you to stay with us. And so we immediately, and also the word had gone out. And then because of the kind of community work I'd been doing before, when I was going out, I was beating the pavement. I was the bag lady, proverbial bag lady, with my leaflets going everywhere into all manner of community centres, into the cinemas, into children's, into the library, anywhere that I could advertise this by word of mouth and by giving out leaflets, because I couldn't afford any radio,
right.
TV or newspaper. The thing is that word had got out that Ama Gueye was having this thing with a doll, and because nobody had ever associated me with just dolls, they were intrigued. So they were and they were sorry that they missed the event. So that added to the insistence that, oh no, we've got to do another one. We've got to do another one. So we fell into doing another one the following summer. And it was the same team, and once again, it was phenomenal, and that's when I first met Rosine Mondo, because for some reason or other she managed to hear about this Black Doll event taking place in London, and she came on the Eurostar from Paris to London, Tottenham, to actually attend the event. And would you believe that she came all the way from Paris and she was the first to arrive at the event?
Wow. So for the listeners, what's the significance of Rosine? Because she's important.
She is.
What's she doing?
She is my heroine. She's my my role model. She is a great inspiration. Rosine Mondo is the co-founder of Poupée de Tropique, which is based in Paris, which is in Paris, France. And she has this organization where she also started an annual Black Doll show, where she, invites doll makers and mainly doll dressers or, doll. I think when I was listening to Georgette, when you were your interview, I heard you were saying that, so people who do the dressing and the remodeling and painting and manufacturing and molding and everything in between. And she was one person that I came across, and because she operates in French, and now my husband was from Senegal, so I had to know a bit of French, so I can function in a francophone setting. So I looked on her website, and I was, oh my goodness, her radio interviews, and she had a almost like a documentary made of her doll exhibition that she had, and more as I say, we fell in love. That's the only way I can put it. As Debbie was saying, doll people are good people, and once you find that long-lasting friendships,
right.
and true. she is right up until December. She has her doll event in December, and I've tried to attend those doll events, and she usually manages to get them filmed, so they're on. You can go on the site and watch the Vimeo or videos of previous events. But she's a real advocate, and she brings on cultural and literary people from the literary world as part of her program. But she is just and she travels. She's traveled all over the States to, visit museums. And, she's traveled a whole lot more than I ever have. And she's just now waiting for me to establish something in Senegal or Ghana. And she's, ready to come to Africa. Yeah.
That's nice.
So,
yeah,
for those of us who are English speakers and who will follow this, Rosine is the co-founder of the Paris Black Doll Show, because that's how it's often referred to with the English speakers, and in America, it's the Paris Black Doll Show, not the French. Okay. In America, a lot of us who are monolingual. So
monolingual, right? Because there are two shows because why I was saying her name in front, because there's Lulu, who's from the West Coast of US, and she holds a doll, the Black Doll conference, or and she does that in May.
Okay, so I'm getting them confused then, because that's the Paris Black Doll Show then.
Yes. Okay. Lulu is the one that does the Paris show in May, but Rosine tends to do hers in December. Hers is a limited company, I think she has. But something, it's really strange, because I've been so used to the legacy that we have sort of worked on really hard in the UK of, sort of like Black History Month, or, Black or Women's History Month or whatever. But in France, they're not very welcoming of those kind of cultural events, because it seems like they're saying, well, we're all integrated here, so therefore you don't need to be doing anything, outside of, what we're providing. And so it's quite what's the word? Going against the grain in putting, hosting an event like that. But
because they're saying that you make it a separate kind of thing instead of an inclusion type of thing, right? Yes, we get that.
Yes. Okay,
that happens here too.
Yes.
Not as often, but it does.
But I mean, the thing with the event that I did here was that the fact that it was, it was all out of my pocket, so it was very much creating ways of getting in funds to cover the costs, so that I could be independent of, any sort of interference. And that still is quite a difficult thing to do, because once you start going, becoming a charity or a limited company, or wanting to do anything that is, looking for funding outside of yourself, then, you get a 20-page booklet, A4, saying, fill this in. Why are you doing this? Where are you doing it? How, how much you're spending a penny on this one. Why is it? Show the photograph. And that sort of thing, you have enough, I have enough in my mind to deal with this issue of, sort of leveling the playing field for our children. And I do not want any extraneous kind of input from somebody else telling me, how I should
right. Because that then limits you, right, and what you need to do.
When did you take the doll show from Britain to Ghana and to Senegal? How did that happen?
I think it was like after about 3 or 4 years of doing the Black Doll Expo. I whenever I went home, I would take some of the leaflets with me, and I would say, well, I'm going home. I'm going to, Ghana. I'm going to Senegal, and I'm sure there'll be black dolls there. So when I first walked into a supermarket in Ghana and went into, this shopping mall, it's huge shopping mall with a supermarket, aisle upon aisle, and the toy section. And I arrived there and I could have cried, because there were just row upon row upon row of dolls, not one single black doll. And I'm standing in Ghana. And of course, then I started, looking around and trying to find who the proprietor was and saying, well, excuse me, why, why aren't there any black dolls on the shelves? And, nobody would sort of talk to me. They would say, oh, well, oh, you need to speak to so-and-so. And I'd go to so-and-so and they say, oh, well, actually yeah. By the time I'd spent 10 minutes trying to chase after whoever it was that I need to speak to, I got the message.
Wow.
So I would leave them my leaflets and, I say, well, please, do consider it. And in so doing, I started then talking to, when I walked back to the aisles, I would listen to the conversation being had by their parents and their children. And I would sort of be a bit forthright and say, well, but, wouldn't you like to have, black dolls for your little girl? And, and they would say, well, yes, but, it's, we're not finding any here. And I said, well, have you been looking elsewhere? And they say no. And I said, have you told the store manager
right.
that, it would be good to have, and they say no, and that's it, there they go. But more often than not, they say, well, my daughter likes to have the white doll anyway, the Barbie doll, usually the Barbie doll.
Right.
So I came out of it that way. And the same thing with Senegal. And in Senegal, the thing that really, really made me feel, right, now I need to move from England and take this whole project to Africa, starting with the two places I know, one where I come from and one where I married into. And that was when I attended the trade show. There was one in Senegal. And of course, trade show, you've got these great, big, humongous marquees and all these stalls, big stalls. And so I went into the one with toys and gadgets and dolls. And I tell you, I walked in there and again, there were like 5 different stalls that had dolls. And you had big dolls, little dolls, they're all dressed up dolls and fancy, not one black.
Not one black.
And this time I made sure that I carried my what I call my Daisy doll. One of my favorite dolls. I carried the doll with me to the event. So I would have her in a bag, and then I would bring her out, and everybody go, oh, she's beautiful. Oh my goodness, where'd you get that one from? And I'd say, well, from America. And they say, oh, but we don't see any like this. And then I'd tell them the price, and they say, oh, but that's too expensive. And I said, well, if you really want it for your child, you go out and buy shoes that are worth sometimes £100 or $100 or whatever. This you can just spend 25, 30, 30, and you have this doll for your child. So I was very disappointed in the fact that there weren't any black dolls. So I spoke to some of the people who were maintaining the stalls, and usually it's not the proprietor who's there.
Right.
And when I finally managed to speak to one proprietor, they said, oh, well, it was cheaper to import white dolls than the black dolls. They said that the tax on importing black dolls was higher.
What?
Yeah, that sounds weird.
Yeah, because
especially if it's from Mattel, it's like it's a Mattel doll.
Because when they're bringing them in, of course, if you're bringing anything in bulk, you have to make your money. So therefore, you're buying in bulk to bring. And the black dolls cost a lot more to buy, and so you can't buy them in the bulk you would like. And then when you come to the ports, the duty that you have to pay is prohibitive, because then to put that, mark up the prices to sell in order for you to make any kind of profit, it's very prohibitive.
Wow.
So that meant, but I'm happy to say from, about 3-4 years ago, right, both in Ghana and Senegal, I went to the malls, and all those stores that I went into, I said, well, how comes you don't have any black dolls? all of them have black dolls. And
Oh,
in fact,
wow.
the
Yeah.
supermarket that is in Accra, I think it's called West Hills, and the other one is Tetakwashi Circle. They had, I mean, I was in there. I was almost dancing for joy. People must have thought I was a bit mad.
Wow.
I was like, yeah, they got the dolls, they got the dolls.
That's
And
great.
you
Yeah.
know, and the thing is that people don't even give it a second thought
Right.
that, you know, the dolls are all white. They think that a doll by default is
By
white.
nature is white. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
By nature is white.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
it's not.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
kind of psychology just does my head in. And it was
Yeah.
so, but the strangest thing is when I'm in England and I'm walking around, you know, sort of enthusing about my dolls and my, you know, carrying the black dolls and I meet people, you know, white Europeans and that, you know, they look at the doll and say, "Oh, that's nice," and I said, "Yeah, yes," and they said, I said, "Yeah," I said, "Why have you got black dolls?" And I said, "Well, oh no, they I asked them. No, I said that it's really difficult to get black dolls because, and they said, "Oh, we don't see them very often." And I said, "Yeah, but isn't that strange?" And they said, "But, you know, sort of a lot of the people buy white dolls." And they look at me and say, "But that's very strange. And why don't they have black dolls?" And I said, "Well, because there aren't any available for them to purchase most of the time."
Right.
And they also haven't thought about it. They, you know, it doesn't occur to them.
It
But
doesn't
then
occur to them.
why
Yeah.
should it?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And even here in the States, you know, I've run into places, I've gone into some of the big, you know, reseller, department store kind of things. And I've seen Barbie, a white Barbie, the same line, a white Barbie for $3 and the black Barbie for $5.
Yes.
You know,
Well,
I've seen
this
the
is,
difference in
yes,
prices. So
yes.
when I see something like that occur, I will go and say, why is this? You know, and I had this
Yes.
one situation where the lady was like, well, I can, you know, reduce the price of the doll that you want. I said, it's not that I want you to reduce the price of the doll that I want. I want the black doll and the white doll to be the same price because
Same.
no one
Yes.
should, no one should come in here, and the brown doll was more expensive too. And no one should come into the store and have to buy their child a white doll because the white doll is cheaper. And you know, the difference between $3 and $5 is not that much if you think about it that way, but then it's almost double if you just think about, you know, $2, $3 is not that much more. But it's like, so let's say you're buying dolls for your grandkids or something, and you're gonna go buy 10 or something.
Yes.
I mean, you're out a lot more.
Yeah.
The doll should cost the same. So I mean, I think that we are still educating people about the importance and of dolls and the equality. I mean,
Right.
they should have, our dolls should be the same as somebody else's. We shouldn't.
Same. Absolutely.
Yeah. Or
Absolutely.
you can get the white doll with the dress, you know, with an additional outfit, and the black doll for the same price, but the black doll doesn't have the additional outfit. I mean, we're still running into that in America.
I mean,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, I just think it all the way around it's just ludicrous. I mean, this is 2020, you know, and for people to not understand, and I know you deal with this, Ama, since you are an educator. You know, it's not even for children to understand, but for parents to understand how important it is for dolls to have dolls that look like their children. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We grew up with dolls that didn't look like us, and we, you know, and we study the effects of our own self-worth based on that.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and so I just don't understand why it's such a still an uphill battle. You know what I mean? For people not to accept, you know, who we are as people, and that we're all beautiful. I just don't understand that.
That's it. This is it. This is it. We come in all, you know, shapes and colors and sizes. And the thing is that the saddest, you know, one of the saddest things I remember in the early days, because as time went on, I kept, you know, and it's really hard work putting this expo together, just because all year I'm maintaining the relationship with all those who participate as sellers, doll makers, manufacturers, and so forth. but there was I remember a conversation where I was in the streets of London, and I was trying to give out the leaflets to someone. And by the leaflets, I craft them very carefully, because I say that, you know, it should be able to sit on the refrigerator door 10, 20 years from now and still be relevant.
Relevant. Wow.
So the images, the images on there have to be something that, you know, you can refer back to. But this, you know, this woman, I was giving it to her, and she said, she looked and sort of, she was like giving it back to me almost. And I think it was her daughter who sort of took it. You know, I gave one to her, and she was looking at it. And I said, well, but, you know, have you got dolls for your daughter? And she said, yeah, but, you know, she's got the Barbie, she's got the white dolls. And I said, well, wouldn't you like one that was, you know, more like her? And she said, no, you know, when I come across these black dolls, they're so ugly. And just her using that word ugly with her daughter standing right next to her, who's a dark chocolate brown little beautiful girl. And for her to say that, and I was wondering, does she realize that what she said is being heard by her daughter? And I don't know how that works. But you know, sort of on the website, on my website, I put the experiment done by the Doctors Clark, the one in 1940s, because that one, to this day, I watch that, and also the I think the one I have is the version that Kiri, this New York teenager, she did as an update. Yes.
Right. Yes. We're going to have her on the show too.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah. Because even though it's still a little bit older now compared to where we're at, the fact of that it is still much more advanced than the one that was done back in the 60s or 70s or 80s, but and it's still the same conversation.
Yeah, it's still the same conversation.
It's like, oh my goodness, it just
yes. When are we going to?
I don't know. But you know what? It can't ever change. You know, without people like you. You know, it can't ever change without people doing what you know what you're doing in your in the part of the country that you're in, because it's still going to be a conversation, and you still have to have people who are doll advocates, you know, like you are, to constantly keep moving that message forward. You know, so it's powerful, and I thank you so much for all the work that you do. You know,
thank you. I mean, I really, you know, I think whenever I'm in conversation with people, they, you know, the first thing they ask me is, well, you know, how do you make your money? Do you sell the dolls? And I say, no, I don't sell dolls. I'm just celebrating and promoting the black dolls. And they say, well, yeah, but you know, and I said, no, other people, you know, so we need to really be strategic in how we do things. I have energy to do this. You have energy to maybe manufacture. Right. Somebody else might have energy to write a book.
Right, exactly. But you know, but that's your role, though. That's your role.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
So
like,
if we, you know, so we can all sit around the table and you know, collaborate and you know, sort of see how things are going. But unless we are attacking this thing on all fronts, I can't be doing that. I can't be a jack of all trades and master of none in a way. But you know, I'm still trying to master this this you know, sort of task that I have in hand.
Right.
But every single time I say, oh, right, next year I don't think I'm going to do this anymore, something will happen. Either I see a child or I hear a comment, or you know, I see something on the television, or you know, something will happen that will trigger it back again. I say,
that you just can't stop.
I can't stop.
I can't, because stop. You know, the voices are needed. You know, and you have been chosen, right?
This is it. I said,
she has been chosen, and is doing a great job at it. Yeah.
Thank you. But I have met so many wonderful people, and I mean, you know, sort of the doll makers I have met, those who are selling the dolls, those who are, you know, sort of on radio, you know, writing magazines, you know, writing books, and you know, the referrals I get. I mean, I get phone calls from, you know, from Holland, from Sweden, from, you know, who was the last place? Somebody from Kenya. You know, had seen something and were, calling me to find out how to access the dolls, and or how to link up with those who were making the dolls, and how to get the dolls from online. And the thing is that from England, it's very difficult to access dolls from the US because our cards are not accepted for payment.
Oh.
So it's difficult to get dolls. So if you it's either one doll. I remember I ordered one doll because I'm just in the business of collecting, and the doll itself cost, I think it was maybe $28 or $32, something like that. But the postage was something horrendous, like $52.
Wow, double.
So I could only order one.
Right. Wow.
So that's pretty prohibitive.
And that's where I come in. And that's part of how Ama and we met, and we started talking about what she was doing. And I've collected dolls. The first time I sent her dolls, I collected dolls from a Black doll group. Debbie Garrett has a Black doll group, and they sent a lot of dolls. And so now I try to find dolls when they're on sale and get them to Ama, so that way she's not having to pay some ton of money for dolls.
No, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's
because I believe in her mission.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And I'm always really, I look to you or in the States and the work that you're doing, and also not taking it for granted that every state is the same as where you are, because there are some places where they also do not have access to the Black dolls, or or even dolls, a range of dolls that they would be happy to have for their children. But a lot is dependent on educating the parents and those dealing with children about the importance of our children having these things in front of them, because it may seem like it's nothing, but I say to them, look, from the cradle, when that baby wakes up and turns around and looks around the cot, maybe the first month or two, or however long it takes for them to focus, when that baby wakes up and looks into mummy's face, mummy's brown,
right,
and daddy, well, if there's mixed, you have mummy's brown, maybe daddy's beige or pink or whatever color we come in the rainbow. And but the child knows, by the time they grow into discerning and everything else, they know, well, part of me is this and the other part is that.
Right, exactly.
And they take it on board. But when something is denied, then that goes into the psyche from the get-go. And that creates problems.
Yes, and then you become 50 years old trying to figure it out. So
there you go. There you go.
50, 60 years old, I've had to strip all that away. You know what I mean?
I do you know the number of women in the 45, 55 bracket who have stood in front of a table. I remember an incident in Paris. This woman came, and she was of mixed race, but she'd always lived with her mother, who was from, I think, Martinique. And I think her father rejected or something. But she had never had a Black doll.
Wow.
And the doll I had in my hand was this is the one that I travel with more often than not. And she, she was looking at it, and I said, oh, here, take her and have a look. And this woman stood there looking at the face of this doll. And within about 30 seconds, tears were running down her face.
Wow.
And she started talking about her story about never been accepted, never knowing where she belonged, never really loving herself, all the things started coming out. And it was just, it gave me goosebumps. I mean, I thought, wow, whenever I remember that, it gives me extra energy. to
Yeah.
go on.
You
Yeah,
know,
this is
Because
why I'm here,
that is true,
for
Ama.
that little
You know,
girl. Yeah.
it's so funny.
yeah.
I remember when me and Audrey were doing the dolls, and we had the same app because we got a lot of pushback, you know, doing a plus size doll because people was like, oh well, you know, you're trying to make it seem like it's okay to be, you know, they were using the word fat
Mm,
back then, you know, but you
mm,
know, you're trying to
mm.
make it seem like it's okay to be that way, and we're saying, you know, we're not saying that it's okay to be that way. We're saying that if you
Mm.
are that way, you still have to love who
Yes.
you are. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it doesn't. And if you're that way, doesn't mean that it's right for other people to treat you a different way.
Yeah.
There
You
you
know,
go.
and it was interesting
That's right.
because we thought that, you know, we thought we would get into the plus size, you know, pageant and all of those things, and we realized
Mm,
that so many people, even though they were advocating saying they loved themselves, when they saw a
mm.
doll that represented themselves, they realized they
Oh my
didn't like
goodness.
themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so it was always an
Wow.
uphill battle, you know, because we're thinking, oh,
Wow.
this is going to be accepted. People are going to like, this is a beautiful thing. And
Yes.
they did not embrace us like that.
No.
We were shocked, you know. And I think at the
Well,
end of the
mhm.
day, it's about teaching people to love who they are, no matter where they're at, no matter what
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
size, no matter what
Absolutely.
color they look like. And when
Absolutely.
you bring something that's different into the forefront, you know, it is an education. It is
Yeah.
a,
Yes.
you know, it is a process of teaching them to do that because they just spent all
Yes.
of their lives not doing it. And so why would you do that to your child? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Why would
Yes.
you, you know, when
Yes.
you know it's taking you this long? I mean, we would get letters, and that's what kept us going because we would literally get letters from women and say, oh my
Mm,
God, if I had a doll that looked like me, I would have been so happy. I would have never treated
mm.
myself the way I did. You know what I
So
mean?
I
Or
did.
never
Oh
hated
my
myself the
goodness.
way I did. And we were like, oh my
Mm.
gosh, like this is so, and dolls are powerful and people take them for
They are
granted.
powerful.
You know,
They
they
are
take them for
powerful.
granted. You know,
They
they're,
are
they're, they
powerful.
really are, they're very powerful. So
Mm-hmm.
You
it's
know,
like, wow.
I go to the toy fair every year in London, and I tell you, the toy industry is a multi-billion-dollar
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, and you know industry, and you know so the dolls, the you know Mattel, you have to you have to be able to pay like £250 to get just to go and
Yes.
look at their stall.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
That one, yeah. But you know, but it's you know it really is, and I think that the doll manufacturing, that's another side that I you know
Mm-hmm.
sort of
Yeah.
I'm trying to collect information to encourage more of us to, you know, sort of to think about, you know, getting factories built
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
where we
yes.
can actually manufacture them ourselves,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
Because that's really
for
high cost if you don't do it
ourselves.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because everybody now, you know, sort of one of the quickest ways that you know, we could have a turnaround was for people to make a mold, you know, spend money
Mm-hmm.
making a mold and then sending it to China to have it mass produced. But then, you know, some of the, you know, experiences that people had with that
Mm-hmm.
has, you know, turned many off of doing that.
People off.
And
Yes.
yeah, they didn't, you know, which is unfortunate because, you know, that would have been one way of actually getting the mass production that would, you know, get a full range of dolls into the homes because you can get
Mm-hmm.
a cheap doll, you know, the plastic, you know, the
Right.
old ones. And when I was, you know, 6 years old, the ones that we saw, the white doll, but, you know, the plastic that you pushed in and didn't come out,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
the cheap plastic that you,
It's
yeah,
hard
you can
plastic
have that
dolls.
end.
Yeah.
You can have that end where children can play rough with them, you know, in the
Right.
sand and everywhere else. And then they can have the higher end where it's for display or it's for, you know, collectible
Mm-hmm. Right.
or things like, and everything in between. And you know, the new vinyl dolls that there are. I mean, there's quite a range of materials now
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Yeah. We
are
talked about that
available.
with a doll maker the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
We were
that
talking about
really is
that.
encouraging. But
Yeah.
it's really trying to, for me, it's really, I would like to energize young folk, you know, who are going to universities now to choose a path where they're actually, you know, into design or into manufacture or into, you know, sort of creating systems and programs that will help
Mm.
to, you know, solidify the understanding around why it's important for
Right.
children to have black dolls.
Wow. Well, I'm excited about that, Ama. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, very excited about that. So where are you on your next Black Doll Expo? I know based on all the things that are happening in this world right now.
Right. Well, there you go. I mean, sort of, I decided because, and of course, whilst I'm doing all of this, life goes on, and I've got my family. I've got 3 children, and sort of, we're all on different different places. So I'm having to deal with that as well. And of course, as I said, I come from Ghana, and my husband came from Senegal. So I'm in between 3 places.
Oh wow!
And that can sometimes be a challenge.
Yeah.
So I thought that sort of maybe this might be a natural break for me to
stopping point
hand
right
over
now.
for the London Expo to be handled by the core team.
Right.
So that they would have a Black Dolls Expo in London still going ahead. And in fact, they were planning one for 2 or 3 months from now, but other things have come in the way.
Yes.
Yes, our planning has taken a different kind of line, but it's still something that I'm encouraging that core group to take on, and they're very keen to do it. So the expo will still go on, but on the other hand, I've also started making forays into Senegal, because there have been 2 or 3 events there now. I've participated in 2. There's a woman who used to live in Paris, so she knew Rosine Mondo, and she's also an educator. And so she, I was hoping to start something with her in Senegal, but I wasn't there, so she went ahead and started something. But she has included play materials, as educational toys, and black dolls. So she's combined those 2. And so she's very keen for us to collaborate when I go there. And there are, 2 or 3 doll makers. I mean, there's one called Raki Daffy, who makes Alifa dolls. And she's really, full steam ahead. She produces them, and she's actually got a shop front. She's got a store in Dakar where she's selling her products. Yeah.
Are they plastic or are they?
They're plastic.
Okay.
Yeah, they're vinyl. Yeah, but there's also another store that she used to make cloth dolls, the rag dolls, but I think she's sort of phasing them out somehow. But she makes them. But aside from that, the other thing in Senegal is that I used to go to the market places. You know how the tourist attraction where you have these women carrying the cultural dolls on their heads, selling them from the basket. Yeah. So I started talking to them and trying to say to them, well, it'd be good if I could, you could make these dolls so that they were child friendly, so instead of having wires that go rusty or, stuffing them with plastic, the plastic foam inserts.
Right.
If you wanted to sell them beyond Senegal, you wouldn't be able to, because they wouldn't pass the safety checks and everything else. So I'm talking with them as well to see if there's any chance of a group of them getting into making rag dolls with all the right materials so that they can then start.
That'd be excellent.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So that's conversations that I'm having all over.
That's great. Yeah, because there's a number of black doll makers now in Africa. We've got Métis with the Mumpi and Poppy and
Poppy, yes.
And we've got Bakani with her dolls, and so I mean we've got
Sibale dolls. Sibale dolls. I love Sibale dolls. She was at our last event, and she was exhibiting there, and she's one who's got the doll. She's got one which is albino. It's the best albino doll I've seen.
I own that
long while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She's,
Oh, it's gorgeous.
yeah,
And
so I'm
yeah,
assuming she's working with Paulo Reyna. I'm assuming that's who's
okay,
making her dolls because they look like Paulo Reyna dolls.
okay, okay.
Yeah, and
And
she's got
she's
a
got the
beautiful,
dot. Yeah,
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 and the one with she's got the vitiligo and the and
yeah.
albino.
Vitiligo. That's
Yeah,
right.
and the
And
beautiful
then
natural
yeah,
hair.
natural hair. Oh yes.
Yeah,
I
they
mean
are
that's the first
gorgeous.
thing.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. That's the first. My fingers go there, and when I see your ginger locks, I'm thinking, oh, that's like the doll I had from Rosine, and that was the other thing. There was, there are parts of me which, at first I was trying to stick very much to the purist idea that no, I have to have black dolls that are really realistic. They've got to have afros, and they've got to have this, and they've got to have that, and they've got to be, the shape has got to be right, and they've got to have the. But then after a while, I started sort of softening up and saying, well, look, everybody is at where they're at. So there has to
Yeah.
be a range of dolls that, so
Right.
long as they begin to, acknowledge that the mindset needs to be somehow um, changed, or mindset needs to, they need to take on board why it's important for the
Mm-hmm.
children to have dolls that look like them. Any which way it comes, almost like
Right.
by any means necessary. We'll start there, and then work into the sort of specialist modes. So those who really want to, the full size doll with the afro and the right
Right.
costume, they can have it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's where I really, I've always wanted to come to. There's a doll convention in Detroit, isn't there? There's one
Yeah.
in November.
Sandra Epps, her doll show. The
Ah,
Detroit
right,
doll show.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Detroit
Yeah.
doll show, yeah.
Yeah.
But sort of, I am, I'm wanting to sort of come and meet with people like yourselves, and where there's an exhibition, because that's the other thing. I don't. There isn't anywhere here where you can go and have an exhibition of black dolls. We have a children's museum, the Victoria and Albert Museum is a national institution, where there's one at it's called the Bethnal Green Museum, and there you've got dolls, historic,
Mm-hmm.
from the historical, from the past right to the present, showing the different materials, showing the different costumes, showing, the origins of doll making and everything else in
Yeah.
between. And it would be nice to have that. And that's where I think the collection that I now have, that's what I'm aiming at, to find a home for them in Senegal or Ghana, and have like a museum. I mean, I call it museum. Museum sounds dusty and,
Yeah.
but there's no other word, but somewhere to display them, so that people, people can come and see that there is a full range of dolls, and it's not just vinyl dolls. There's porcelain, there's rag dolls, there's plastic, there's wooden, there's all manner of dolls, and I think that really inspires them to see that it's not one size fits all. You can actually have something that appeals to
Yeah.
your own artistic sensibilities, or your own desires.
Ama, I could talk to you forever. And I know you know that because we get on the phone and it's like, boom. So I want,
Yeah.
I want to know, I want to make sure that we've been running on here, and it's been a brilliant conversation, but I want to make sure that we let people know how they can get in touch with you, and if there's something that people can do to help you in your endeavors. I want to make sure that we don't forget to do that, get that information out there. And it seems like we have so much more to cover that I would love to invite you to do an additional show. I would like to do a show where you call yourself a doll advocate. I would like to do a show where we talk about what that means, how that works. So but I don't want to try to push it in just a few minutes. I want to have a show where we can talk about that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
let us know where you want people to reach out to you. And we'll also set up that second show.
I mean, I have a website which is a year out of date at the moment because of the fact that we didn't have a expo this year, but I'm trying to make it more relevant to what I'm doing now. So it's there at www.operationsankofa as people know, .com, operationsankofa.com. And I've got a Facebook page, which is a lot more active than the website.
Okay.
So it's facebook.com/ and it's Op Sankofa. That's capital O, P for Peter, capital S for sugar, and then ANKOFA.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we'll try to
you
add
can
that
reach
too.
me on you can reach me on info@operationsankofa.com.
Okay, that email address, info@operationsankofa.com.
operationsankofa.com. Yeah.
Okay. It would be great if we can. What you're doing is really important.
Yes.
And, one of the things that I am really excited about with this interview, every interview, I'm excited about, different things. It's like, oh, I get to talk to this person.
I was listening.
One of the things I'm excited about with your interview is letting people know what you're doing. And I pray that what happens is more people will reach out to you so that they will, so that getting the dolls isn't such a burden. I mean, if they can donate monies to your cause or send dolls or, do something like that, that would just be brilliant because what you're doing is so important.
Thank you. It is. And I mean, it's really, I mean, I'm really energized by so many people, and it's sort of, it sends me into so many different disciplines, whether it's psychology, psychotherapy, sociology, you name all the disciplines, you go there, even maths.
Yeah.
Mathematics. It goes there. And, I mean, I want to listen to this. One of the people I was going to invite, and I called her and left a message on her answer phone, was, may she rest in peace, was Dr. Cresswell Singh. Because, on one of my leaflets, I quote her, and it's just phenomenal. I was calling her to be keynote speaker at one of our events, but she wasn't well at the time, so I wasn't able to get her. But she's the kind of person I'd reach out to, or Professor Smalls or Professor Kaba. Kameni. Professor Kameni, who talk about the importance of children's, development.
Yeah. And perhaps we can reach out to them and do some shows with them because it's great, to do some things like that. So I'll talk to you after the show and get that information. But I just want to say thank you so very much for joining us. I mean, we've talked about this, for a while, and I'm just so grateful that we are at a point where we can sit down and talk and share what you're doing, because what you're doing is just incredible. So I want to, you're just really just invaluable. You're just doing some great things. And so I want to say that, I should say valuable. Anyway, I'm here. I said invaluable because I was thinking about what you're doing is more than money, but it is so valuable.
Yes.
That's why I said invaluable.
And I bring. I mean, one of the things people keep asking me about why I don't sell, and I said, well, what I like to do is to bring people together who are an inspiration, because attracting somebody like Near Ballerina, where this woman wanted a musical box for her daughter, but wanted the ballerina to be black, and she couldn't find any. So she made one. She's now selling them by the score. There's a woman who made Saffron, Zuri dolls, who made the first talking patois doll. And, she's really in her element. And then there are those who are making dolls as part of the therapy of empowerment, like Rita Capia. Women
so
make dolls.
yeah, we're going to reach out to some of them, and we're going to make sure that we talk to you again because we still have plenty to talk about. So
Well,
I want
thank you.
I want to make sure that everyone knows they can reach out. If you want to reach out to Ama, you can reach her on her website, www.operationsankofa, Sankofa, Operation Sankofa, one word.com. And it's been brilliant. So thank you for joining us on In the Doll World, and we are excited to talk to you again. And thank you for our listeners for joining in, and stay tuned for our next show. Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Georgette.
Thank you.
Thank you, Georgette.
Thank you so much.
Tammy.
All right.
Thanks so much, love.
All right.
Take care of yourself.
Care.
Yeah, you too. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for listening to In the Doll World. Me and Tammy really hope that you enjoyed the show. Please don't forget to share our podcast with other doll enthusiasts such as yourself. And if you would like to leave a message on how you enjoyed the show, or you want to suggest any guests that we should interview, as well as share information about what's happening in the doll community in your area, please know that you can reach out to us at georgette.inthedollworld@gmail.com and or tammy.inthedollworld@gmail.com. Also, if you want to see some of the photos we will be posting of our guests as well as the dolls that they talk about on the show, please visit www.inthedollworld.com. And until next week, add a little play into your life by collecting a doll, sharing a doll, or giving a doll a home. Until next week, thank you again for listening to In the Doll World.